Hello, BookTube. I have a small mail haul for you on this dark, rainy, freezing cold day in mid-May in Boston. Dark and freezing cold and pouring rain. Again, still, ever, forever. I have a small mail haul here. There's a few packages, and it ends with a box. And I partially know what the box is, but it also contains. The box is also a mystery to me, so we'll encounter together. So let's do this first one and see what we can have here. Not sure that Frida will be much interested in this one because neither one of us is interested in anything because there's no sunlight, because it's freezing cold and pouring rain and dark as twilight all the time, and that saps the will to live. Oh. Okay. All right. This is from the folks at Harvard University Press. This must be soon. Yeah, early June. This is by Roy Levine, or Livney, and it's The Values at the End of Life, The Logic of Palliative Care. One last leaf on the branch. Very good cover design. Nice and simple. America's healthcare system was built on the principle that life should be prolonged whenever possible, regardless of the costs. This commitment has often meant the patients spend their last days suffering from heroic interventions that extend their life by only weeks or months. Increasingly, this approach to end-of-life care is coming under scrutiny from a moral as well as a financial perspective. This book documents the rise and effectiveness of hospice and palliative care and the growing acceptance of the idea that a life consumed by suffering may not be worth living. Entirely true. Entirely true. Do yourself a favor for your own peace of mind. Make a living will and do it with a lawyer and make it very explicit. Make it very, very explicit. Get a good lawyer. Get someone who will know how to make a document that is completely binding. And in that document, stress many things. Stress that if you're in a vegetative state, you want your life discontinued. No heroic measures, no prolongation of life. Stress, at least to your next of kin, if not to caregivers. Stress in that document. Make sure that key people in your life know where the document is. Make sure that in addition to them knowing, you also leave a written description of where the document is in case no one puts two and two together or people are too distraught. And in that document, make sure to stress at enormous length that you do not want to pauperize your family or your friends in the event that your catastrophic last and final illness doesn't immediately kill you. I've seen that happen, where families with pensions and 401ks and retirement savings are wiped out completely by the through-the-roof maintenance care of a husk of a vegetable, someone who is never going to recover. A lot of it could have been avoided if a living will had been made at great length and in great detail ahead of time. So do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor and do that. In case you are one of the gigantically increasing number of Americans, for instance, and if we talk about just America alone, that are going to, as a book that I read just this year said, you're going to spend half of your life elderly. And with all of the humiliations and the impairments that entails, better to have a document ready and to keep it updated and to keep it as legally binding as you can make it. But this isn't about, this book is stress. It seems like it's going to stress more the health benefit sides, which I've also seen. I've also seen people, patients go into Massachusetts General Hospital with an advanced form of cancer that they are not going to survive. Nothing is going to help them. And the medical machinery in the hospital just gears up into place right away. And all sorts of horrific measures are taken on that person to prevent death, even when the doctors in question know that death is inevitable and soon. It's like a split in the brain, and those patients, that summary is completely right. They end their days in misery and humiliation, when palliative care is a much better option. A lot of times you'll have families that will resist that option too, because palliative care says to the family, "We have given up. We are going to lose you." They resist that. I've seen families somehow think, well, we'll just look at these 5 methods of aggressive treatment, and you can't do it, of course, but you want to stop them and say, Okay, didn't you hear the first part of this discussion? No treatment is going to work. I realize that's hard for you to take, but you're not talking about a laboratory frog here. You're talking about your grandfather. You really want him to suffer for no point at all, just so you can say you did everything you could? Anyway, this is early June. I'm obviously invested, so I'm gonna be interested in it. Let's see what this next one is. This is from Yale University Press. We're just gonna do the Ivy League. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. This comes out in July. This is a history of pirates. Wow. It's by Peter Lair, and the subtitle is A New History from Vikings to Somali Raiders. So this is not going to be just the ordinary 16th century pirates of the Spanish Main. That's good. In the 21st century, piracy has regained a central place in Western culture, thanks to a combination of Pirates of the Caribbean franchise and the dramatic rise of modern-day piracy around Somalia and the Horn of Africa. In this book, maritime terrorist expert Peter Lair gives us a gripping, detail-packed account of pirates from the Middle Ages to the present, focusing on why people become pirates, what they do as pirates, and how they leave piracy. Wow. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, it's July. That does sound interesting. It's July, so I'm not going to get to this right away. But I'm totally on board, as it were, for a new, especially a more global history of piracy. That's great. But I never know what I'm going to get on this channel. Palliative care to pirates. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to this next one here. Okay, this is also. Oh, you are up to your. Good for you. Oh. All right, let's see here. Okay, this is from Yale. This comes out in August. Oh, my. Okay, what is this? Oh, God. Okay. All right. Okay, this is a great big thing that comes out in, this is Witcraft, The Invention of Philosophy in English by Jonathan Ray. Witcraft. Ludwig Wittgenstein. How did I know we were going to encounter him? Once wrote that, quote, philosophy should be written like poetry. Why, nobody took him up on that, did they? But philosophy has often been presented more prosaically as a long trudge through canonical authors and great works. What if we instead saw the history of philosophy as a haphazard series of unmapped forest paths, a mass of individual stories showing endurance, inventiveness, and bewilderment? In this book, the author brilliantly retells this history, covering such figures as Descartes, Locke, Kant, Hegel, Marx, Nietzsche, Mill, James, Wittgenstein, of course. He also includes authors not usually associated with philosophy, such as William Hazlitt, George Eliot, Charles Darwin, and W.H. Auden. Okay, all right. Above all, he uncovers dozens of unremembered Puritans, revolutionaries, pantheists, feminists, nihilists, socialists, and scientists who were passionate and active readers of philosophy and often authors themselves. Okay, so I'm starting to see little glimmers of hope for I am not, as I mentioned on this channel before, I am not a fan of philosophy at all. It is the worst of the genres, a complete waste of time. But it seems like this is going to stress history rather than delve into the phenomenology of phenomenological phenomenon. And the author is a philosopher and historian whose previous books include Proletarian Philosophers, Philosophical Tales, and I See a Voice. He lives in London and Oxford. Okay, so a great big history of philosophy in English. That could get reviewed a lot. That could get reviewed widely. Okay. All right, and then we have this last one, the box. And the box is a bit of a mystery, and also not. I can see on the box that it's from Book Depository. I got a little checky poo, an unexpected checky poo. It was too small for me to do anything with. If a check is under $100, then I can't do anything with it. So I decided to indulge myself and get some books on Book Depository. I haven't done that in a while. I went looking around. It was a wonderful experience to do. And I don't need any more books, of course, so it was a wonderful experience. It was also a sign of dementia. But I ordered 3 books on Book Depository. And the first of them has now arrived, And that is the known part of this package. The unknown part is, of course, I don't have any idea what this is. I don't have any idea which of the three it is. So let's find out. We'll find out together. Do you want this box, baby girl? You want a box? Oh, you do. Goodness gracious. Okay. All right. This is not only Book Depository, of course, is very popular on BookTube. There's free worldwide shipping. The books sometimes take their sweet time getting to you, but the prices are reasonable and the shipping is free, and a lot of booktubers use it for that reason, and I love that. Absolutely love that. And so, in part, my foray on Book Depository was inspired by BookTube, but in addition, this particular book was inspired directly by BookTube, because I read it when it first came out and thought that it was pretty thin gruel. And since then, on many, many BookTube channels, and also YouTube channels of people who don't typically read books, I've seen this thing over and over and over again. And that makes me think that it's due for a reread. Now, I didn't have a copy, and I want to reread it and see why this thing is appealing to so many people. In fact, you should sound off in the comments field if you're one of those people. If you read this thing and you really, really liked it. My first reading of it, my first reaction was not quite negative, but it was bleh. I'm going to try it again. This is *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, A Brief History of Humankind. I must have seen it just as a. I must have come across it by accident on Book Depository. I certainly wouldn't have been looking for it, and thought, okay, let's give this another try. It's fun to get these things in the mail, so let's give it another try. I don't have a copy, and I don't get to the Brattle Bookshop as often as I once did. So this is the sort of thing that I would certainly see there. I just haven't been there. And this thing has blurbs from Bill Gates and Barack Obama. Okay, well, okay, so that is our mail haul for today. Bean, what are you doing? Oh, baby, what are you doing? She's going a little stir crazy. I don't blame her at all. Winter was supposed to end in March. But anyway, those are our books for today. That is our mail haul today. We have Witchcraft, a big new forthcoming history of philosophy in English. We have Pirates, a new book studying not just the conventional, Bluebeard and whatnot, not just the Pirates of the Caribbean type pirates, but lots of other pirates too, and also acknowledging that piracy is a gigantic multi-million-dollar enterprise today, and that you're not entirely safe from it. Right? It might be worth pointing that out. If you're contentedly sending grandma on a cruise to the Caribbean, or further afield, a cruise maybe to the Orient, to Japan, you might. Well, I don't want to be alarmist, but you might want to give a little thought to that. These things are crammed full of money, these cruise ships, and most of them have no fighter escort of any kind. Most of them are. It's interesting to think about, that's all. And then the values at the end of life, a new book about palliative care, and Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, which I will try again. I will give it another try. And that is the first of my Book Depository books to arrive. There are two others, and I'm not even sure that I quite remember what they are. So they're going to be a surprise. We'll go through all of them together. But that's it. That's the mail for now. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.